Hey nerds, it's time for another CW's Flash Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and this week we are talking about the repercussions of Barry's travel through time. Really, our main theory looking forward here deals with Dr. Wells and the repercussions of what he's done. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk about what happened and what changed from the previous timeline. Because, like Dr. Wells said, and like we all expect, there's going to be some repercussions from Barry traveling in time. First, we get a different set of bad guys. In the previous timeline, the Weather Wizard was, wreaking havoc. Kidnapped Joe, was going to destroy the city with the tsunami and the tidal wave. That obviously did not happen. This week, we got the Rogues back. We got Captain Cold and Firefly, and we got Snart's sister, who had the gold gun, and she actually has a name, but I'm blanking on it. I'll put it in the subtitles. So they were the villains this time. They captured Cisco because they know who he is, and they know he works with the Flash, and they know he made the guns. So it makes a lot of sense that they would go after him. And hey, it probably actually kept him alive, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So different bad guys this time around. Speaking of those bad guys, the second thing that was different was Barry did not reveal his secret identity to Iris. This time he revealed it to Captain Cold. So Snart is brilliant. They've shown that in the show. In the show, he's brilliant in the comics. He figured it out. Of course, by threatening Cisco's brother. But why wouldn't a villain do that? So Barry and Snart make a deal, and Barry won't really interfere as long as Cold stays away from Barry's friends. That deal won't last long because Joe's going to call Barry on it and find out why he's not going after Cold. So that's pretty cool. Now it should be noted in the comic, Cold and the Flash have worked together in the past, and every time they did, Cold was a man of his word. He honored a deal, and he treated every relationship he was in with kind of honor. So that part of this deal works basically how it is in the comic. So that's, I think, a nice touch that they've added here, that Cold actually is going to stay true to his word and not go after Barry's friends if he doesn't go after them. Like I said, Joe won't let that stand, so that will change. The next thing, Eddie, Iris, and Barry, the little love triangle. Like Dr. Wells said, because there was no catastrophic event to bring those emotions to the surface, Iris does not confront her own feelings for Barry, and Barry, thinking they're there, makes a fool of himself. Thankfully, some quick thinking by Caitlin and the total bogus reasoning of lightning psychosis, Barry does not get into a bigger fight with Eddie after Eddie decked him, which was pretty awesome. And apparently, if you are familiar with Eddie and Barry in the comic, there's a lot of rivalry there. It has a lot to do with the fact that they're half brothers in the comic. I don't know if they're pulling that into the series. It'd be pretty weird if Barry didn't know he had a half brother, Eddie, at this point. I mean, there's no reason why this secret would come out later. So, well, who knows? Maybe that's one of the things that Barry going back in time will screw up, is that Eddie will actually now be a half brother. We'll see. So, lightning psychosis. Barry's emotions are safe. Good thinking, Caitlin, because now he's not going to be straight out beat upon by Eddie. Then number 4. In the previous timeline, Cisco's the one who was starting to suspect Dr. Wells, and we all know how that turned it out. He got vibrating arm stabbed through the chest. Well, because everything changed, Cisco does end up going to his brother's birthday, which was a lovely mess. Barry is now the one who starts suspecting Dr. Wells because of things Dr. Wells is saying, things that Dr. Wells is doing. And this is probably a better way for this to go, because Barry, I think, is going to be a little more subtle about it and not be so obvious and try and have Caitlin, who's an awful, awful liar, try and have her keep Dr. Wells out of the lab, which is his home, so that anyone would try and keep him out of there is very suspicious. So this will go better, and hopefully we will get to see Cisco turn into Vibe or something like that soon, because Barry could use another superpowered ally in the fight, especially with everything coming up and the Reverse Flash stuff coming to a head, I think, very soon. Then the last thing is, since Cisco didn't die, we did actually get a death this episode. Mason Bridge. This was the news reporter who was kind of the jerky mentor to Iris. He was investigating Wells and had allegedly had a huge file full of information that basically incriminated Wells in a lot of the ongoings in Star City at this point. Yeah, he's dead. So those are all the kind of the big changes. Sorry, Mason, you were kind of a cool jerk of a character. Sad to see you go, but someone's got to take Cisco's place in this new world of timeline shenanigans, stuff like that. So all these things changed just from Barry going back in time one day. The question that I have now, and this is the question that the show has to answer, is what changed when Dr. Wells got stuck in the past? So again, this is the time travel. Past Dr. Wells, who was from the future, went back to the past, and that's when Barry's mom, Nora, died. So what happened when he got stuck back there, and what has changed from the timeline and history that he knew? Now, it's possible, and this could be what his computer system is helping him do, is he's trying to keep that timeline as close to staying true as possible. Now, there's no way to know what the original timeline was, except for that one newspaper thing, and every once in a while the computer saying no changes to the timeline. But something has to have changed. And I think the further they're going down this road and the more adamant Barry is about going back in time to save his mom, the more things are going to be changing for Dr. Wells, and he's going to get much more desperate to set things right. And I think that's where it's going to come to a head. So, yeah, Dr. Wells is going to do everything in his power to stop Barry from going back in time to save his mom. But I don't think it'll work, and that's when he's going to have to out himself as Reverse Flash, and that's when things are going to change. So that's what's going on. We've got a fantastic episode coming up next week, because we have the Toyman back, or not the Toyman, sorry, the Trickster. Toyman's going to be on Supergirl. Trickster, and this is going to be Mark Hamill. So you know that's amazing, and that's just going to be a fantastic episode to watch. So let me know what you think. There weren't too many theories this episode, but it was nice to see what actually changed from the time travel. Tell me what you think, and leave comments in the notes and what you expect the show to be doing in the future. So for Good Nerd, Bad Nerd, this is Brian, and this has been CW's Flash, Theories and Conspiracies.